This is an armed raid on a bank in Beirut. It looks like a robbery, but the woman with the gun isn't stealing anyone else's money. She's after her own savings. Over 1 million people have been locked out of their bank accounts. As talk of revolution grows, we're here to meet those fighting back against the banks.
I loathe violence. I'm a doctor, not a bandit. But today, this is war.
And question the bankers accused of a multi-million-dollar con. So you're not a criminal?
My conscience is clear.
Lebanon is on the brink. The economy crashed catastrophically in 2019. Then a massive chemical explosion shattered half of Beirut and what was left of a functioning government. 3 years on, public services are devastated, there are energy blackouts every day, and people can't even get their own money. These people say it's the banks who are to blame. Lebanon has suffered the worst financial crash anywhere in the world since the 19th century. And virtually nothing works in this country right now. And the people here are protesting because the banks are now stopping them taking their own money out of their accounts. They're angry with the man who imposed these limits, Riyad Salameh, governor of the central bank. To stop a run on the banks when the crisis hit, he decided people could only withdraw $400 a month from money deposited before the crash. New earnings aren't affected by the limits, but for those dependent on their savings, especially older people, life has become desperate.
We're not living our life, even though we have worked all our life and trusted the banks.
What do you think will happen if they don't give people the money?
Maybe there will be blood. I don't know what I can do. I don't know. If they told me your money is gone.
Things seem to be winding down when the protest suddenly takes a turn. A younger, more aggressive group has arrived. Leading it is Rabia El Zain. He was a well-known figure in anti-government protests 3 years ago. This is no longer just about access to bank accounts. It's turning into a riot, and the older protesters have gone. The police seem quite happy to let this play out. They've made no attempt to stop it, and people are just throwing rocks and bottles of oil into the central bank. But this whole part of the protest feels quite staged. The Molotov cocktails aren't on fire. It seems this riot is really for the cameras, to send a warning to Lebanon's ruling elite. I was expecting a protest by angry customers. What I've found is a call for revolution in a country close to collapse. For decades, Lebanon's debt-ridden economy relied on foreign currency. To attract those dollars, the central bank offered extraordinarily high interest rates. They called Lebanon the Switzerland of the Middle East. But it was exposed by the World Bank and others as a massive Ponzi scheme, with the interest effectively being paid from new deposits. Eventually, it all came crashing down. We're on our way to meet a couple who were at the protest, who want to show us how difficult life is when you can't get your money out of the bank. Hello.
Hello? No power for...
Really? Oh, I see. Hi, how are you? Dr. Pascal Rassi is a GP. His French wife, Valerie, used to be a nurse.
How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So it's power cuts, is it?
Yes, about 2 hours per day in good days.
Pascal has no income. 3 years ago, he had to stop work after developing the disease fibromyalgia, which causes debilitating pain and chronic fatigue.
I can only offer him some water. That's the only beverage we can still afford.
He sold his medical practice for $100,000 and put the money in a bank account offering 9% interest a year. 2 months ago, he went to withdraw some of that interest, but was told it didn't exist.
So how much money did they say you could take out?
In theory, maybe close to everything, but in 2 ways only. One is by a bank check which no bank will accept to cash.
So one option was to give you a piece of paper, a check,
Yes.
that would be worthless.
Or I could withdraw it converted arbitrarily from their part to Lebanese lira at the rate of 8,000 liras for a dollar.
The spiralling street rate for Lebanese lira that day was over 60,000 to the dollar. So the bank would be cutting the value of his money by 87%.
Can you tell me what legal routes you are now taking to try and get your money back?
I finally charged a lawyer, Rami Aleh, to represent me. He's going to send them an ultimatum to pay me my money according to my full legal rights. Otherwise, we will be forced to take different actions. Personally, I loathe violence. I'm a doctor, not a bandit. But today, this is war.
The couple now live off just €400 a month that Valerie transfers from her pension in France. After paying international transfer fees and energy bills, they have just €200 left for food and everything else.
Our main source of protein is eggs, because we can still afford eggs. And normally I'm used to having breakfast with milk, but today milk is very expensive.
So you have milk powder?
Milk, of course.
Yeah. How much does your medicine cost?
I pay a monthly subscription of €50 for an experimental treatment. I was also taking Prozac. I've completely stopped it because I can't afford it.
How much would it cost?
It doesn't really cost much, but with $200 a month for food, how can you afford medication?
A day later, Pascal and Valerie invite me to a meeting with their lawyer.
How you doing?
Rami Olek runs a firm called United for Lebanon.
Please have a seat.
But this isn't normal legal advice. Pascal wants guidance on how to raid his bank by force.
So normally they lock the top lock, but if, for example, they've seen me coming from far away, they lock also the bottom one.
Were you able to check if they have an entrance through the other side to the rest of the building or no?
I've been inside, but I've never had the
Because
chance.
it makes a difference if there's like 2 doors or 1 door.
I know.
I just want to be really clear about what it is you're talking about. Are you talking about holding up the bank by force?
If necessary, absolutely.
And Valerie, you are prepared to do this as well?
J'ai pas peur de mourir, j'irai jusqu'au bout. Pour récupérer notre argent.
Are you going to be armed?
I don't own any real weapons and I can't afford them, so we'll probably be mainly using the poor man's weapons.
What does that mean?
Valerie has cooked up, you could say, a little recipe. Hot pepper and onion juice in a spray bottle.
They are unlikely outlaws. But according to Rami, it won't be a robbery. Everything they're doing is legal.
Article 184 of the Lebanese Penal Code gives one the right to self-defense or others to help defending somebody or their property.
So as far as you're concerned, if somebody goes to a bank and holds it up by force and demands their money, there is no crime committed.
There is no crime committed, that's the bottom line.
There have been around 30 such bank raids in the last few months, and Rami was involved in many of them. I want to find out what motivates him. What I discover is a radical alter ego.
We have a deep state of corruption, okay? And those thugs, the greedy thugs, needed more money for the use by the politicians and the government, okay, in embezzlements and other stuff, okay? And then, at some point, the monies of the depositors got drained.
When it comes to these depositors,
What's the real goal for you?
We need to get the people back their money, their life savings. That's the specific goal. Under the bigger goal, we need to revive the state. We need to have a good approach of reform. And that's what the real revolution is about.
Is there then a conflict between your advice to them as a lawyer and your underlying desire to bring proper reform and revolution here?
Both complement each other, because practicing law is about the right and justice. These means have to converge, okay, together to rid the country of the current state of corruption.
Thanks. Rami is quite clearly more than a lawyer. He is a leader, a revolutionary in his own terms. And so his advice to Pascal and Valerie isn't impartial. He's driving them on. And in many ways, they are the foot soldiers in his campaign for real change in this country. It's easy to see why there are calls for change. The Lebanese state has collapsed. The government is so broke, it can't even afford to buy medicine for the country's hospitals.
She said he smiles only when he sees me.
Peter Noon is one of Lebanon's leading doctors in children's cancer. I'm joining his morning round at St. George's Hospital.
This is Maria. Maria has a disease called histiocytosis. She had it once and she relapsed. So the parents are afraid that the relapse is due to the drug, which was not secured correctly. Sometimes, even if it's a good drug but not well transferred, it will not give the good result.
With the government failing to provide drugs, patients get whatever medicine they can from relatives abroad or charities, and they can't always be sure of what they're getting. What is your worry about Maria's relapse? Dr. Noon, is it possible?
This cancer can relapse, but we saw a higher incidence of relapse.
Charities have stepped in to pay for children with cancer, but adults get very little help. Afaf had breast cancer just over 2 years ago and had a full course of surgery and treatment funded by the state, but she's relapsed. The cancer has come back, and now there's nobody to help her. The relapse is treatable, but it will cost $100,000 a year for maybe 6 years.
If don't treat her, the cancer will disseminate and develop metastasis to liver and lung and bone, and then it will be life-threatening.
With the family earning just $100 a month, they can't afford it. Are people dying because of this?
Of course. Who cannot afford the drug? They stay at home and do nothing. Take painkillers. Of course.
يعني إذا ماتت هي الأطفال هذه شو وين بدي أروح فيها أنا؟ والله يعني حق ما حدا يعلم فينا غير الله. خلص زهق منا. وين نروح؟ عند مين نروح؟ لمين نشكي بس؟
أنا ما بشوف شيء. اتكل على الله.
With no savings, Afaf has no choice but to wait. Rami, the lawyer, believes his clients still have options. He's called to say they're going on an operation, and he's told us to follow. As part of their last formal attempts to get their money from the bank, Pascal and Valerie have decided to go to the chairman of the bank's house to try and get a meeting with him face to face. It's a risky strategy. No one has directly challenged a bank boss before, and this district has tight security.
بده يحكي مع الاستاذ نديم قصار ما في شيء ما حدا حكي بالبنك رفضوا يعطوه موعد
اللي مصاري معه وعايز طالب فيها.
The chairman isn't home, but they're not giving up.
فقدنا كل السبل بس كنت جايين لهون مثل ما شايف يعني لا جايين 100 واحد ولا شيء مين بتمنحنا حقه بده اياه خلصنا
The guards are getting annoyed, but Rami seems to be enjoying it.
Honestly, they're getting backup, and I'm waiting on purpose for the backup to come, because this would get really hard. Man, I've had it with these people.
It feels like this is no longer just a final attempt to get their money from the bank. Rami is after a confrontation.
Ils vont verrouiller.
انت بدك تسمع على برا بدك تطلع بعدني عم بحكي معك بالرواق بدك تطلع قلت ايه قلت لا
Thieves! Criminals! The security guards have closed the gates. It's clear nobody's coming out, but they've made their point. Rami has led the charge, but Pascal and Valerie's frustration is clear.
Viens, chérie.
In fact, even Pascal is surprised by the extent of his wife's anger.
Bravo, chérie, tu fais peur.
برافو برافو
من نظرتها قلت لها رعبتي لي حياتي.
A few hours later, we get a call from Pascal. His bank manager has been in touch.
Please come in.
Thank you. So what happened?
He said it wasn't wise of me to let Rami Olek drag me into this. So they forcibly shut down my account, giving me my money in the form of a check, which obviously he knows is worthless because they themselves will never cash me their own check.
If you now go to the bank and demand your money, they will just say you don't have an account here.
Well, if I don't have an account, where is the money? By declaring war on us, they've definitely opened up the umbrella, the protection of Law 184, because they've officially told us you have no other option.
Pascal's mind is set. In 2 days' time, they will storm their bank to get their money. It's the day of the raid. But there's been an unexpected twist. Every branch of the bank is closed because of a dramatic court ruling. A judge has effectively ordered that customers should get their cash on demand. The chairman of Pascal and Valerie's bank is Nadim Kassar.
Very nice to meet you.
He wants to explain why the ruling has forced him to close his branches.
Imagine if I have a customer with $1 million. What would I do? Where do you find $1 million in New York banks? In one branch. We will see how they will enforce it. I hope they will wise up and take the right decision, because this decision has been taken hastily, and I don't think they know all the repercussions.
We've been filming with a customer of yours, Pascal Rassi,
Yes.
who deposited $100,000 in checks in your accounts, and he wants some of that money back. And you're saying he can't have it.
He gave me a check, I gave him a check. I know he might not be able to do a lot with it. I'm ready to take it back and give him, in terms of payment, what the central bank regulation applies. Him, like any other client.
Do you see why the central bank regulation seems so unfair? Because you only get a proportion of your money.
I mean, I'm angry too. Do you think I'm happy not paying people their money? I haven't decided what to give them. There are central bank regulation that tells me how much I can give.
With the law now on their side and the banks closed, Rami and Pascal have cancelled the raid. But they are back at the bank boss's house, and they've got a crowd of other customers with them.
Things have changed. Today we're just here to express and convey the warning. If they try again to block justice, then we return to what we were prepared to do. Let them not try to play dirty with us.
The guards are expecting them. Eventually they're let in, and Rami has a warning.
ما تجربونا وتجربوا اللبنانيين والمدعين بنصحكم لأنه الثورة اللي هي وسيلة للإصلاح جاي لا محالة إذا صار في أي عرقلة إضافية لعمل القضاء.
Well, they have been allowed in to make a peaceful protest. They don't want the banks to take them for granted and try and string this out. They want them to pay up now and do it quickly.
أفضل معركة هي اللي بتنذبح قبل ما تبلش وهن عارفين أن كنا جايين على الانتصار لا محالة تخبوا وسكروا كل سكنات فروعهم وتخبوا تحت الأرض.
For now, the bank raids are over because of the court ruling.
Do you think you're going to get your money?
I'm very confident, and I sure hope it's not going to take too long. We're doing them a huge favor by acting in a civilized manner because we're saving them from the explosion of popular anger when it goes into anarchy.
But anger grows towards the man at the root of this crisis. Riyad Salameh has been in charge of the banking system since before the alleged Ponzi scheme crashed.
It isn't just the Lebanese people who are furious with the governor of the Bank of Lebanon. He is currently facing multiple international investigations, including accusations of corruption. I'm very surprised to say he's agreed to give us an interview.
Since starting the job in 1993, investigators estimate his personal wealth has grown from 23 million to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hello, Governor. Hello.
He denies embezzling state funds.
Those who are making all these campaigns have only their own speculation. There is no documentation.
So you're not a criminal?
As far as I am concerned, my conscience is clear.
So let's address the question of the Ponzi scheme. So the World Bank, President Macron, international experts say you were basically in charge of a massive Ponzi scheme.
I don't agree because if it was a Ponzi scheme, we would not have lasted so far.
Well, you ran out of money, that's the
3
problem.
years. We didn't run out of money. The central bank has returned all the dollars that was provided by the banking sector to the banks.
So are you saying you regret nothing? You did nothing wrong?
Of course I didn't do anything wrong.
3 weeks after this interview, Salameh was charged with money laundering, illicit enrichment, and embezzling $300 million. But the banks remain defiant. All of them closed their branches, hoping the court ruling is overturned. People's anger has risen again, with bank raiding replaced by bank burning.
لأنه المصارف سرقت كل شيء وعم تستغل نظام الدولة الفاسد والقضاء المأمور تا يحموا هالجريمة بوضح النهار.
Every day, Lebanon edges closer to collapse.